It was hard to put into words, for Jeremy at least, where it all began and where the troubles had begun. There were a lot of strange occurrences every day, most of which you could chalk up to just normal friction in the chaos of life. But for an avid, fire-breathing, bumblebee mechanical pen, Jeremy had had sort of an extra rough time of things. You could sort of fit people into different echelons of being in the drawing verse, but Jeremy never felt right with himself, not even around the abstracts. It was around this time that modern medicine determined that the pathways, mentally and emotionally, of love were transcommunicated through a certain wavelength. This is a wavelength few understood. We'd only, of course, just discovered it, and the scientific community was all abuzz with it. Now, Jeremy was not really a part of that community either. He wasn't especially intellectual, but when he saw the help wanted posting for a lab technician, and when he went in that day and had passed the trial and found out that his sort of structure was in fact permissible with this new wave through which love could be measurably recorded, well, he was interested. I mean, the pay was fantastic, and that alone got him into the doctor's office. It wasn't until later that day that he realized he'd been sitting at home with the dinner he'd made just for himself, sitting at the table, and it had been about 2 hours that he'd been sitting there, staring at his untouched meal. It almost as if he'd just woken up. Like that whole day had been a dream, but as he looked back on it, everything that had happened was evidenced. In his phone, the scar on his chin, the money in his wallet. And there he was with his bachelor's cup of Jell-O on the table in front of him. He felt tired, but not like he could sleep. That was when his roommate had come home. Ronnie, the curious floating top type, sort of like a UFO combined with a ordinary triangular child, had come back into the door and was checking up on him. He said, "Well, Jeremy, you're still here?" Jeremy said, "Well, of course I am. I've only just gotten home a couple hours ago." And Ronnie turned to him, and Ronnie told him, "Well, Jeremy, you've been sitting in that exact spot for a week straight." And at that, Jeremy underwent a transformation almost, physically, emotionally, and mentally. He had been trapped in this room for a week, but not in the room, in himself. Jeremy knew he was going to visit the doctors again,